Here are 6 things to consider before you dive into your chatbot project. And this is really aimed at businesses that are kind of orbiting around the idea, or have been orbiting around the idea for some time now. Should we have a chatbot? Should we invest in conversational AI? How can we make it a better experience? How can we get more leads? How can we sell more? You know, you've been toying with the idea. You're seeing other industry players that are perhaps dipping their toes into conversational commerce or conversational AI as a customer support tool. You don't truly know how they're doing because you don't get to do their stats, but you know, you're starting to get a feeling that, you know, perhaps this is something that you should be looking at. So here's 6 things to consider. To be fair, given the choice, most people would rather speak to a human. But let's be honest, humans are an expensive resource. There's not only the wage, there's the desk space, the computer, the cleaning, you know, there's a million things that you have to pay for to have that employee. So I think the average wage for a customer service agent in the UK is around 21,000 a year. You add all the on costs, the computer, everything that is involved in having that job, and it's probably closer to 30,000 for a single person. But it's up to you to weigh that up. Is it more important to us as a business to have that human-to-human conversation, even though it's costing £30,000 a year? That's a big hit on the business. Or are we better strategically deploying a chatbot who can deal with 50% of the queries that are repetitive questions, some of the processes that are really simple? There might be 2 or 3 processes you have in a business, like where's my order, how do I do a return, whatever the third one might be. There are processes that perhaps don't need a human, and there are some processes where the chatbot can do the first portion of the conversation, the first 25% of the conversation, before it's handed over to a human. So you'll need to look strategically at, if we do this, can we make it the best experience possible but still have really good human fallback? And I think there's a lot to be said around using those expensive human talented resources to deal with complicated customer queries rather than the repetitive stuff. So people would rather speak to the human, but actually you might be able to service them better by implementing some conversational AI. Number 2, chatbots are superb at single, simple questions. And what I mean about that is a simple question that's very repetitive. So it may be, how much does parking cost? So you're a venue or a shopping centre. How much does parking cost? Very easy just to give the answer to that. Is there whereabouts are the disabled spaces? Very easy to just answer that. Very simple question. Doesn't need a human. But it can get really complicated when people send messages such as, I'm a blue badge holder and I've got a wheelchair. Where's the best spot for me to go that's going to give me quick access to the lifts? Now, that's quite a complicated request. You know, if you had a simple rules-based chatbot, it'd be quite difficult to make the right response trigger from that. Conversational AI, good training, well thought out, could do a better job of that. That's where I see at the moment chatbots and conversational AI are really useful. But the other place is those repetitive processes. So returns, checking up on an order, reordering, asking about stock. You know, I saw this T-shirt. Do you have it in a large? You know, very quickly check on the database and bring back a response. So those kind of things I think are really useful, but you've got to remember you can only really do the simple stuff. This is why humans are so bloody good, because they can deal with the really complicated stuff. Number 3 is designing dialogue, conversations that work well for the customer, but also work well for the business. It's a real balancing act. As a business, even when you're providing customer service, you're wanting to get some business results out of that. You wanted to make sure the customer has a great experience. You might want to make sure that you're checking up on, check that we've got the right email address for them, make sure we've got the right phone number, whatever it might be. It's balancing what is going to give help the business drive more revenue, give better service, reduce overheads, whatever it is, against how do we ensure that the customer has as good, if not a better experience when they talk to the chatbot about around these very simple tasks. So balancing it is quite tricky. It's very strategic, takes some planning. And if you're embarking on your first ever conversational AI project, get some help. The people out there now have got experience and can help you get the conversation right. I think conversational designers are worth their weight in gold. If you're a conversational designer and watching this, feel free to comment below and talk about that whole thing about weighting the conversation more to the business, more to the customer, getting the balance right. It's really important. Customers who arrive at your chatbot angry really have a good experience. So if they're already in a heightened mode of negativity, having a chatbot then try and answer their questions, because they're already in the red zone. That trying to shield that customer away from a human is more likely to have a negative impact on that conversation. And it's really important, I think, around returns, complaints, the stuff that you already know is negative conversations, that you don't try and solve it with a chatbot. You just human fallback as quickly as possible in the most elegant way and in the best way for the customer. People will tell you in customer service, there's great joy in taking that angry, upset customer and helping them and calming them down. Personally, chatbots are not the way to do that. Number 5, customers will lambast you if your chatbot fails. And I'll be honest with you, most chatbots will fail at some time in some part of the conversation. So it's really important that when you're starting down the chatbot and conversational AI route, that you consider where the pitfalls are, where the conversations could get tricky, where there's... Dog, stop it. Dog's chasing flies. Where the pitfalls are, where things could go wrong. You're not going to preempt everything, but you've got to do your best. And I do say that in that first 12 months... Right, get out. Go on. Out. Out. Oh, she's having too much fun, and we've got video to do. I think especially in that first 3 months, you're going to learn a lot about the kind of conversations you're going to have with customers, and you've got to almost preempt some of those risks. So a lot of analysis of conversations that are happening. I always say to my clients, we're checking the conversations, looking for the anomalies every day in that first 12 weeks. And we're looking where potentially that conversation could have gone wrong and eroded the conversational experience, and putting in place changes and whatever it is we need to do to make it a better conversation. So the other part of that is, if you've built it up as a big thing, launching your chatbot, and then those first few customers hit and it goes wrong, it's not great for PR. So be aware of that. You're going to get some criticism potentially from customers when you first launch. You've got to be quick to react. Make sure you've got great fallback and that you're making improvements on the fly in that first period. Really, really useful. It's always something I'm very focused on. Whenever we help with a conversational AI project, we always have a package where we're helping for at least 12 weeks after launch, because there's going to be things that happen that the business is not experienced of. There's going to be some knee-jerk reactions. You need to calm the clients down, just to make sure that the changes that they make to the conversations are beneficial and don't actually ruin the experience for the customer. And finally, what I think is probably the most important thing to consider if you're going to implement conversational AI and chatbots is that chatbots on the whole have a bad reputation. Is some of it warranted? Of course. Can you avoid it? Yes, you can. Again, it's about taking your time, building your MVP, or what I like to call the MVB, minimum viable bot, testing, training, really taking your time, making sure that when you do go live and it's out there in front of customers, that they're getting the best experience. You've put the effort in. Unfortunately, the barrier to entry for building chatbots at the moment is so low that people are deploying them without giving it any thought. You've got people embarking on big conversational AI projects who've never done it before. Sometimes you've got the wrong people in charge of the project. So I've seen this, within really big organizations where they'll have, one or two conversational designers, analysts who have only been in the industry a couple of years. They've got a couple of qualifications. It is quite a new industry. But then they're expected to manage the delivery of a big old project, which they've never done before. So they may be good at certain elements like designing dialogue and analyzing conversations, but they really will struggle with the complexities of large projects, especially conversational AI projects, because they go across the business, and also the strategic decisions that need to be made through the different phases of launch. So they have got a bad name. It's one of the reasons why I never advise people when they launch a chatbot is to say, "Oh, welcome to our chatbot." Don't do that, because it's just got a negative connotation immediately. They've got a bad reputation. They are getting better. The technology's moving on. The skills within the conversational design or the whole conversation market is improving. There's really good community building who are helping each other. So that's changing. So that's the end of it. I hope that's useful. If you've got any ideas, any comments, put them wherever you see this video. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.